How's it going, everybody? Sean Ross here, and I hope you all are having a wonderful day so far. But for all my RWBY fans out there, today is a wonderful day. Volume 5's premiere of RWBY, Chapter 1, Welcome to Haven, just dropped on Rooster Teeth's website for first members. And all I gotta say, after watching this episode 2 times and the new intro 3 times, I am so happy that the series is now back. I missed the characters, I missed the world, and I missed the music most of all. I love the music in the series, but I'm just so happy that I finally get to talk about a new volume of RWBY on my YouTube channel. This is gonna be so much fun. This is mainly just gonna be a reaction, but I'll get into reviewing the series, this chapter in a little bit, with what happened in the episode, but then also with the new intro. But I just gotta say, I am so happy that this is now back. But before I dive into talking about this episode, a big shout out to everyone involved with making this series and also with the premiere episode. The crew involved in making RWBY. You guys did a fantastic job. The animation was on point in this episode, and it continues to baffle me with just the amount of quality increase that each volume has of RWBY. Because when you go from volume 1 up until now, where volume 5 currently is at animation-wise, it is astounding and fascinating just to see the quality increase from volume to volume. So you guys deserve like a round of applause, because this episode right here, 23 minutes long for the premiere episode. It was awesome. It laid the groundwork perfectly, I think, for what's to come this volume. But I think what gives us a lot of hints, which is the main thing I'll talk about before I dive into the episode, is the new intro for this volume. And all I gotta say, I love it when it's a rocking intro. Like, that's just my musical taste. I love rock songs, I love metal songs. So getting to hear the guitar riffs, the vocals in this song are also very well sung as well, but it's also the drum beats, the bass, the double bass going back and forth. That is the type of intro music I really love about RWBY, and that's why a lot of the more rocking songs in RWBY's catalog I tend to be drawn towards more. But this one sets the tone right off the bat, and the animation and just the cuts and effects used in the intro, I really enjoyed. Like the pedal effects at the very beginning, where it showed all 4 RWBY members, where it had RWBY, and then it kind of dissolved into red petals, Weiss, and then dissolved into white petals, Blake, black petals, and then it focused on Yang. I love that effect right there, but this intro also hints at what is to come in this upcoming volume, which this upcoming volume will have 14 episodes. So in case some of you guys were unaware about the episode count for this volume, it's going to be 14 amazing episodes. So definitely look forward to that. But we get to see a lot of, familiar faces in this volume intro. We get to see Hazel, we get to see Salem, we get to see Mercury a little bit in there, but we did not see Emerald. So I'm actually wondering how much of this intro is actually foreshadowing what's to come in the upcoming volume. But all I gotta say is this is another stellar intro just to add to the catalog for RWBY. I really enjoyed it, and I really want to hear your guys' thoughts on the new intro as well. So definitely leave your thoughts down in the comments below about what you guys overall thoughts were on the new intro for volume 5. So now that I'm kind of done talking about the intro, I would just want to dive into this episode right here, the premiere, chapter 1, and it mainly focuses on Team Ranger and Crow getting into Haven, but we do get glimpses here and there of Weiss, Yang, and Blake's. But right now I'll focus on the majority of this episode, which was, RWBY and the gang, and then I'll talk a little bit more about Weiss, Yang, and Blake, even though those were very short sections, but we'll see more of them as the volume goes on. But Team RWBY, Team Ranger, and Crow make their way to Mistral, make their way to Haven, and right off the bat, you can kind of feel a very ominous tone. I mean, even from the Volume 5 finale, when we saw Professor Lionheart talking with Professor Watts and welcoming him into his office, we knew that Professor Lionheart was going to backstab our main characters, but you got that feeling just through the whole conversation between Professor Lionheart with Crow and Team Ranger, because we already know he's met with Watts. We know that he's kind of aligned himself right now with Salem because he takes after the Cowardly Lion. He is just a coward. So just to see him trying to, dance his way around questions with Crow, talking about the Spring Maiden and everything along those lines, you could just feel an uneasiness coming from his character until it was revealed, that Watts was listening in on the entire conversation with Lionheart, Crow, and Team Ranger. But I loved all the funny moments too, when Crow tried to, break down the door, Professor Lionheart opened it up and then they both fall to the ground. I really did like that. Getting just to see all of these characters again just brought a smile to my face. but it's the conversation that took place in Lionheart's office that actually dropped some very significant knowledge that we really needed on the maidens and the relics, which I really enjoyed, and took just the notes on so that way I can just talk about them for a little bit, because it turns out the maidens and the relics are linked based on the season that the maiden is, basically founded in. And it's one maiden in particular that can access the vault to one specific relic. So the spring maiden is only able to unlock the vault for the knowledge relic. The summer maiden is only able to unlock the vaults for the destruction relic, fall to the choice relic, and then winter to the creation relic. So that is actually some key information that we did not know beforehand that I'm really glad that we got in this episode. And we also come to learn that the spring maiden is actually now aligned herself with Raven and her team of bandits. So just as the intro and the poster for Volume 5 has been indicating, Raven is going to be a major player this volume, which I am really looking forward to, because I want to dive more into Raven's character, maybe get more backstory on her, but also Team Stark as well. Why was it that Team Stark ended up disbanding, and why did Raven end up going back to the old tribe that her and Crow used to be a part of? So it's raising a lot of questions, but I'm hoping we also get a lot of answers in this volume. So that is basically the main information that we kind of get from Lionheart's office. Everyone leaves. Ruby gives a very nice and sincere, very nice talking to you, says goodbye, and then Lionheart, gets the alert, from Watts saying like, Watts, you need to work on your improvisational skills. So right there, we know that Watts was listening on the conversation, but then we move over to Crow, who ends up going to get a drink, and then Ruby and the gang go back to their little hotel, motel, Holiday Inn type space that they're living in currently in Haven. But what was very interesting is that the same end credit scene for the Volume 4 finale ended up playing in this episode. And I believe that's the first time that's ever happened where a scene has kind of carried over into the next volume, because we have Crow meeting Oscar for the first time at the bar, which leads into something that was just so funny to see: a drunk Crow. Can we just have Crow drunk all the time? Because getting to see him laugh and giggle and realizing that he found Professor Ozpin was probably one of the most funniest things I really enjoyed out of this entire episode. Him just falling onto the couch, just muddling to himself saying, "I did it, I found him." It was just so enjoyable to watch. And also getting to see, Nora, Ren, and Jean basically kind of react to this new presence of Oscar. And then of course having Ruby come in and saying like, "Guys, keep it down, I'm reading my comics," and then sees Crow on the couch, is like, "Uncle Crow, are you drunk again?" He's like, "Maybe." Awesome moment. But now our main crew of Ranger and Crow now have Oscar on their side, and they're starting to realize now that somehow Professor Ozpin has either been reincarnated or his soul has now been intertwined with this young boy, Oscar Pine. So I'm really excited to see the conversations now. Now that Oscar basically talks to Ozpin in his head, what kind of conversations are going to pop up with Team Ranger and Crow moving forward into the future episodes. So that is like the main crux, the main team that we follow in this episode, but we do get slight glimpses of Weiss, Yang, and Blake. Weiss's, I felt, was very, very simple. It was her still on the cargo ship making her way over to Mistral, but they end up, picking up a distress beacon from some people getting attacked by Grimm. And this was actually very hard for Weiss because, the pilot was basically saying, it's like, "My ship's not capable of going in and rescuing people. We're a cargo ship. Someone else most likely heard the distress call. They will go in and rescue them." So that was very hard to watch, especially for Weiss, because she's a huntress. She wants to help people. So that right there was very hard for her, but it was a very short section within the episode. Blake's was also very interesting as well, because it kind of moves forward with the plot of the White Fang and Blake and her parents and son going up against them. And of course, I love the dynamic of Gira and Sun, the fact that they actually agreed on something in this episode, and then immediately, as that was pointed out, Gira just looked at Sun with such disgust and was like, "How dare you be with my daughter?" It was just so funny to see. But then we also had Blake have a confrontation, or at least a conversation, with Ilya, our chameleon, gecko-like friend. And there's some ominous stuff coming up, definitely between Blake and Ilya and the White Fang. And I'm really excited to see where that's going to go moving forward. And of course, ended off with a Yang. Yang's part in this, I laughed so much because it was just so comedic and so cartoonish. I absolutely loved the parts, when this like sluggish, very like gruesome kind of like bad bandit type guy was just at the bar as she's just drinking her water, and the guy's coming up to her saying like, "Ooh, you're beautiful." It was kind of getting a very creepy, kind of like rapey vibe from the guy because he was immediately going in to touch her, and then of course Yang unleashes the beast within her, the red eyes glow, and then she just punches his face in and a tooth comes out. And the way that guy exited the bar was absolutely amazing to watch. The animation going into that, I gotta give top props to the RWBY right there. I absolutely love that. But during that section, you know, the sleazy guy, I was listening to his voice and I was like, hang on, I know where that voice is from. And if you guys watch the English dub for My Hero Academia, Clifford Chapin, the voice of Bakugo in My Hero Academia, voiced the sleazy guy at the bar. So I really enjoyed that. So you got to hear Bakugo and also Kaba from Dragon Ball Super, if you guys are watching the English dub for that as well. He did a voice of the sleazy guy at the bar in this episode. And of course, as Yang was leaving the bar, I also noticed too, even before I talk about, you know, that, her hand was shaking a little bit. So she's still trying to come over the PTSD, but it's still nice to see that she is slowly getting better. Like the events at Beacon are still traumatizing her, but she still is slowly getting better. So she ends up going to her motorcycle, leaving the bar, and of course the guy overheard that she was looking for someone and says, "Hey, I know you're looking for someone, and I know where they are." And at first, I actually thought that, you know, Yang was actually going to make her way over to RWBY, but now it seems like she's kind of switched her goals, and she's making her way over to find Raven. So it seems that Raven is like the main like point that everyone is converging on, and that will probably be where everyone's going to meet up by the ending of this volume, because my bet is that the White Fang will somehow be aligned with Raven and her bandits. So that's how Blake will probably end up being like tied back to Team RWBY. Weiss, I believe, is going after Winter, so I'm not sure where Winter's going to play into that. But if Winter is somehow involved with the bandits, Weiss will also be tagging along, heading towards Raven as well, and then Yang and RWBY will also converge there as well. So I am believing that with this volume, we will see our main girls of RWBY reuniting in this volume, and that is just going to be so awesome to see. But this volume, I'm really looking forward to. In this premiere, just RWBY awesomeness, I just thoroughly enjoyed. And if you guys are not first members, don't worry, the episode will be up on the Rooster Teeth website, I believe in 3 days since it has premiered, and then next Saturday, within 1 week, it'll be up on YouTube. So if you guys have not had a chance to watch it yet, you guys will eventually. But if you guys want to watch it in 3 days on Rooster Teeth's website, all you need to do is just sign up for a free account on their website and you guys will be able to watch it. But for first members, you guys already got to watch it, and I believe that we all thoroughly enjoyed this premiere to Volume 5. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of the volume. And now I just want to hear all of your guys' thoughts, opinions, theories, and just discuss this premiere for Volume 5 and also for future stuff coming up in future chapters for Volume 5. So leave your thoughts down below. What are your thoughts on this premiere episode? Where do you think that the story is going to be going? And when do you think we will see the convergence of all 4 of our main RWBY girls? Leave all your thoughts down below. I love you guys so much, and I'm really looking forward to reviewing this series week in and week out as we go through Volume 5. And I believe next week I will have my live reaction up to the premiere episode of Volume 5, so definitely look forward to that as well. But that is all I have to talk about right now for Chapter 1, Volume 5 of RWBY until Chapter 2 comes out next week. I'll talk with you guys later. Stay awesome, guys.